The following is a presentation of Geekster Media.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 2 of the Geekster Geek Out podcast. On this show, we give interesting people who are known for their fandom of a particular corner of pop culture a chance to geek out about another obsession that they are rarely, invited to discuss on any other platform. This time around, we have a man who is known for his love of the 1989 Nintendo-sponsored movie The Wizard, even scoring a spot on the special features of a recent Blu-ray release. He's also found online getting photo ops with or autographs from the legends of pro wrestling, and talking about horror movies or reminiscing about the TGIF sitcom lineup of the 90s. But today we have an even more unique side of pop culture collecting to discuss. So, Chad Young from Horror Movie Barbecue, please complete this statement with your topic of choice. I never get to talk about
collecting souvenir collector cups.
Yeah, this I was not expecting this one to come my way when we decided to chat here. So let's talk. What do you think about this world? Where did it begin? Like, what's going on?
Oh gosh, this is going to turn into a therapy session. This honestly, I think it's a pretty fun world because there's really no real limits with it. Like wherever you go, like no matter what's going on, no matter an event or store or wherever, you're always going to find like some weird cup you're not going to see anywhere else. This actually started back when I was a kid. I think I've talked about, my connection with my father when I was a kid on so many of other podcasts, but he was a big fan of fast food, specifically Hardee's, Roy Rogers, and Burger King. He was not really a fan of McDonald's, so we didn't really go there that often. But every time he went, he liked to get the largest soda possible, and of course, those came in those collector cups. So early on, it was like Hardee's had the Moose, and I think Roy Rogers had, I think it was called like the Big Chill or the Big Chiller, or something like that, or something. So we had so many of these, all over the place, and I think like that kind of started it at an early age. There's something kind of fun and unique and different about these cups more than just drinking out of a regular glass. And I mean, who doesn't like, a collector cup with a cartoon character or a movie character on it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, that was actually where it started for me as well. Like you say, it's in so many different realms, so many different businesses will offer a cup of some sort. But when my dad used to take me to get a haircut, once a month, every Saturday or every other month, whatever the schedule was, there was a Kmart in the parking lot where our barber shop was. And so I'd always ask, okay, I go to the barber shop and then do I get an icy afterwards? So we go to Kmart, go to their, their little concessions area. I'd get an icy, and then they started offering these collector's cups for their ices. I remember like there was a bunch of sports ones for like baseball teams and things.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that. And then I know later on we're going to talk a little bit about our holy grail cups we're trying to find. And one of the
Yep.
ones that I want to track down and add to my collection is from that experience. But yeah, it's just like it starts bringing back those memories because it just seemed like everywhere you went, every restaurant was trying to get you in. But it was in the 80s and 90s, they
Mhm.
really did like highlight it as a big deal.
Yes. And a lot of those like promotions, I mean, now they don't, like a McDonald's or Burger King doesn't offer them as much. But like back then, I mean, you could get they'd advertise, hey, you can get a, Batman Returns cup with, let's see it. There you go. I knew it. I knew you had that on. I knew you had that on command. But like that was a big deal. Oh, we're talking about that, huh? Let's see. Oh, I
There
got
it
one
is.
too.
Twins.
I think you'll know. I think you'll know which cup that is on.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like when you're a kid and you see it, you're also kind of like there's part of you that's like, oh, that's kind of like an adult Happy Meal. You're getting a big, bigger meal, and you're also getting a cup. No, that's kind of cool, and they have awesome artwork most of the time, but yeah, they don't do it as often. And if they do, I feel like they're paper cups and a lot of them look good. But I mean, you get that McDonald quality, you get that Hardee's, you get the we'll touch on it, Burger King and 7-Eleven. I mean, and Kmart. Thank you for bringing that up because they were kind of known to do their own thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a situation where like every type of like nowadays when people think about like what they're drinking out of, it's kind of a more sporty, kind of like metal, it's going to keep your drink cooler and it's more
Hmm.
utilitarian.
Yeah.
And there's a certain I don't know, like you can identify yourself by that or have a little bit of, I don't want to say it's fashion necessarily, but it might be an accessory to your outfit, but like back in the day, like not just cups, right? But there would be these
Yep.
water bottles. This style of water bottle was like all the rage, and you could just find these everywhere again for every
Hmm.
for
Yep.
group of characters would get their own water bottle, or like your local karate dojo is passing
Yeah.
to advertise.
Kim's Karate in Maryland, which William Bruce West, I know. If you ask William Bruce West, Kim's Karate, I guarantee you he'll be able to start singing the jingle. But that was also something that I kind of lump into this hobby because at that time, my brother and I would do a lot of sports, so we did have a lot of those sports bottles, and I always kind of looked at that, as kind of the same thing. I mean, there were so many out there. There were so many colors and designs. And you'll remember this, like when we went to like field day in school, everyone brought their water bottle, and someone always had. I think the Ninja Turtle one, the Simpsons ones were the most popular, the Gatorade ones, but it was always something that stood out, and something that you could kind of use as a part of your identity, like Ninja Turtles, Nickelodeon, New Kids on the Block. I was going to say New Kids on the Block, not Nickelodeon. I'm sure there are Nickelodeon sports bottles, but it would kind of help you identify who you are in a weird way, to kind of say that, but it's true, you
Well,
know.
the good news was like the thing with the collector's cups is so like your lunchbox. Last time around, we talked to Sean
Yeah,
Rivera about collecting lunchboxes, but like that's something you grow out of. You're lucky you maybe get like three or four throughout your elementary school career, and then
yeah.
lunchboxes are kind of done, at least character lunchboxes.
Speak for
But as you get older, you could always like have a cool collector's cup. Now, the question
yeah.
I have for you is where did you keep them in your house? Like, did your family have stacks of these collector's cups and cupboards? Like, where were you finding them?
So we there was a long time we did have so many that, yeah, we would actually kind of put some in the cupboard and then we would have some in like a box somewhere. Around the time I want to say 15 or 16, I kind of took it upon myself. We had the kind of cupboards that you could like put stuff on top. And my mom comes home one day and there all of our cups, all of my cups, like stacked on, every inch of the cupboards up there. And she kind of I don't she didn't encourage it, but she didn't hate it. Let's say that. But that kind of stayed there for a while. Some of the cups, I would have one like I had a shelving unit in my bedroom and like a lot of my comic book and wrestling stuff. So like certain ones would be on my display or whatever, and the rest would just kind of be out on the cupboard or in a box somewhere. It became a problem, a nice problem.
Yeah, I can imagine. I just remember we had a cupboard that was like, underneath the counter where our microwave was, and that's where
Yeah,
all the collector's cups ended up, and then ultimately disappeared, which broke my heart. I was like, "Mom, what'd you
yeah,
do with them?" And then they were gone, and I was like, "What? No, I was still drinking out of those because,"
yeah,
and that's the thing, like so, nowadays, especially that we're in the world, I feel like the popcorn bucket at the movie theater has taken
yes,
over for the collector's cup, right? But those are like it's a collector's item. Most people are not even going to put the popcorn in it. They're just getting
right,
it. They're spending $40, $30 to get this thing. But like back in the day, like the cups
yeah,
weren't always in use. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I got it and now I'm going to put
yeah.
it on a shelf, we didn't have
No,
hospitality.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I've always liked to have as far as like collectibles, even when I was a kid, is something I can use. Like something, not like a Ghostbuster backpack. I had one secondhand, but just stuff I can use no matter what mood or whatever's going on. So, yeah, and I feel like the popcorn buckets we see now are definitely an extension of that collector cup. You know, I don't know that it was a fad, but that was happening. It is funny you say that. I actually have a collector cup from the latest Ghostbusters movie. And so obviously had to have that, and it glows in the dark. So, some still kind of do the gimmick. Some theaters will still, I think, just kind of do generic ones that aren't as it's nice to have something commemorate this movie or this event or whatever it may be, but some of them aren't as inspired as maybe they were 30, 35 years ago. But then again, we could also say that about ourselves, so I mean, maybe it's not fair.
We were more inspired. Now, so the thing is, what we have to talk about here is, we talked about Batman Returns. Here's like a Taco
Yep.
Bell Batman
Oh.
89 cup. So this was like the standard look for a long time, about this size, just a plastic cup. It was white, and then it would have some graphics on it, and that's what you would get. And sometimes they would give you like a number, so you knew it was collectible. 1 of 10 or however many they were going to offer. And this was pretty much the standard. You'd get a whole stack
Yeah.
of like the Batman Returns, and you're ready
Oh yeah.
to, but then they started evolving. And this is
Yes.
what I find fascinating is I mean, Burger King, you mentioned earlier, and
Yeah.
they had one of my earliest and most favorite, which was the
Yup. The
superpower,
superpowers. Yup.
where you actually got a figurine that went with your cup. So the cup almost itself was not as exciting. It's just pretty generic. It says Burger King, but now
Yeah.
Batman's holding it, or Superman, or whoever else, Wonder Woman. Dark Side, if you like,
Yeah.
the villains.
That was the main for it, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was cool. But then there was also the etched glass that we all remember, right?
Let's talk about those, yeah. Because I think, yes, the Batman Forever glasses, which so many of us, I mean, you post about the Batman Forever glasses on Twitter. I mean, you're getting automatic 1,000 retweets and likes. Although we talk about the Batman Forever ones, do you have the Flintstone ones?
Definitely.
Let's see it. Come on. Yes. There is a part of me, and this is going to kind of sound controversial. I think they're both fantastic, but I think the Flintstone ones may be a little cooler just because you don't know what you're looking at. I mean, but once you see it, you kind of know, oh, okay, that was the Flintstone movie. And they did a huge push for that. So
Well, and the cool thing about these is that they are actually featured in the movie. So it's a little different. If you watch the movie, especially Kyle MacLachlan's character, there's a taller version of the cups, because they released several models, and he actually has a version. You're like, oh, it matches.
oh
Okay,
wow.
so go back and watch it. I think it's on Netflix now or something. You can watch that John Goodman
Yeah.
Flintstones film. But I like when they do stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's from the actual property.
And that's always kind of like now everybody buys like the prop replicas. You can get them on Etsy, you can get them on wherever, but like back then you had to get them from like the official then channel. So you had to get it through a Warner Brother catalog. I mean, you had to get it through McDonald's. I think that Taz mug from Christmas Vacation is probably the best example. Or if you didn't care how big it was, you could get like a Kenner replica of like a kid's toy. But it's funny you bring up the glasses, because I do group those together. I did love the glasses. I don't love them as much now, because as fantastic as they look and they are a nice display piece, again, I like to use things even now, and I that's blasphemy to some people. Like, why are you using? Well, I paid for them, but like the Burger King Star Wars glasses. I think that's the best example of, if you throw them in the dishwasher, they start getting, faded, and then they feel weird when you touch them. And maybe that's just like my weird whatevers I have. But it used to be. I mean, go back and look at so many of those promotions early on in the 70s and 80s. You got glasses before they started doing like the cups. So, the Star Wars glasses. I remember the Camp Snoopy ones. 7-Eleven, I think, did like DC and Marvel, or was it just DC? So there's so here. I'm taking a side note, surprise, but when I was in Rochester, I used to do toy shows and flea markets. There was a guy in Western New York, and I'm so embarrassed because I can't remember his name, but he was known as the glass guy, because he had every promotional glass that you could think of, every special glass. I mean, the 7-Eleven, all the fast food ones. And I bought a couple from, and gosh, I hope someone can like correct me, and like I hope they know who I'm talking about, because I can't remember his name to save my life. But I mean, you look at them and they're also kind of a nice time capsule of like when a movie or a fad was popular. So we have, the Super Nintendo glasses, or we have, like Batman 89 or Ghostbusters 2, whatever the case may be. But as far as, they're nice to display, but it also they're kind of easy to break, because some of them were on the more thinner side. They're not like a pint glass. Now we get all pint glasses. So
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. It's like you got to have a hutch, you got to have a glass display
yeah,
case for your glasses, and you can put them all in there. But yeah, you don't want to take the chance that they get
yeah,
chipped or whatever. Like you're like, oh, it's no good now.
yeah. No, and like that would. I've had a couple glasses in the few. I've moved a few times in the last 15 years, and some of those glasses, all you have to do is, not wrap them properly enough, and I hope you can find them on eBay later.
Yeah.
So but with like the plastic cups, like the more rigid, thicker, big cups, those are easier to kind of maintain. You can just stack them in each other. You can like clean them a little bit easier, and they're not as high maintenance, and you can use them. So I mean, they'll fade a little. They'll I feel like they last longer than the glasses with like lead paint. I can't imagine how many illnesses those glasses probably caught.
It's true. It's true. Now it does seem like you're saying like that as the kind of the collectible cup market was evolving, the
Yes.
quality of the plastic did get better. It did become more durable. The paint
Yes.
application did become more, more likely to stick around with the graphics rather than like even in the dishwasher, they
Yeah.
wouldn't fade as easily in the modern times. So now I want to say this, Chad, which is cool. When I think of like the ultimate collector's cup for me, like the one that meant the most, that I was most impressed with at the time, Pizza Hut did quite a good job with collector's cups over the years, but in particular I have one here that I'm going to share.
Now, is it going to be jealous?
It just might. You never know. You
Okay,
never know.
that's it.
How did you feel about 1991's The Rocketeer?
There it is. I loved everything about the Rocketeer. I wanted action figures. I had every piece of that Pizza Hut promotion, including the box and the glider, because the only figure we got was the Applause Bendy. That cup was on my shelf with the hat, the topper, for so many years, and I'm oh, look at that. I mean, Pizza Hut really went above and beyond with so many of those, and not just that, but like you go and look at the Universal monsters, the X-Men. They did actually, and I think after X-Men, they also did just Marvel Universe kind of stuff too. Nickelodeon, no, not Nickelodeon, Disney. After, I think they did so many. Like I'm so jealous that you have a complete one. That looks fantastic, and that's not like just cheap quality either. It's been over, like, I haven't I haven't had that in my collection in 25 years probably, but I can still remember just how impressive the quality of the topper is,
Yeah,
because
just the craftsmanship, because again, they could have just put like a dome, you know.
yeah,
It's the Rocketeer. It's look the face. It's on the cup. You're like, no, it's gonna have the fin.
I just remembered they did American Tail, Five Will Goes West, and the toppers were like the cowboy hats, because in the movie they go west. But I remember like it wasn't a cowboy hat. It was like just like a stovepipe hat. I think it was red, and it may have been like I think like either Dom DeLuise or was it Jimmy Stewart's character or something like that. But I remember that, and they kind of stopped that after a while. I guess it was an expensive process,
Well,
but
they seem to switch over to puppets. They really got big into puppets after that. Yeah.
they kind of experimented with puppets a little before this, because they were doing Land Before Time. Then they did
Eureka's Castle.
Eureka's Castle. Thank you. I think those two were around the same time. And then, obviously we all remember the Casper ones. So they kind of played with those on and off. I don't think they did cups for those though, but I know like they did commercials for the puppets. That could be a different episode.
Yeah, that's a whole other one. Yeah.
But let me just say, I'm sorry, I completely stepped all over you because I was so impressed. The Rocketeer. Can you show that one more time?
Yeah.
Can I give us a nice little spin there? Yup. Oh my gosh. There it is, right there. Look at that. I mean, we're all so nostalgic for old Pizza Hut these days, and I know you love the Ninja Turtle coming out of our shelves. But I mean that really does capture that era of our childhood and Pizza Hut and what it was kind of what we were into and what we craved back then.
Now, I do have to say, so obviously vintage is our world. We love looking back and we love doing all that. But in, the last 20 years or so, you mentioned 7-Eleven earlier, and they have done like some of my favorite cups. These lenticular cups
Yup.
for the Marvel movies when
Beautiful.
they were first coming out. So we have the Hulk, we have an Iron Man. I literally
Yup.
I use these every day. So these are my cups in the house.
I love.
They're so durable. They're still good all these years later.
Mhm.
Even Transformers. Here's my Optimus.
They did Terminator, they did GI Joe, I think, and they also did X3, and they did a little gimmick. No, I'm sorry. Before I get to that, they also did Star Wars Episode 3, and the tops were actually a Darth Vader helmet. The X3, I remember having like a gimmick where it was like a coin on like the bottom, so it was kind of throwback to the cups they did in like the 70s and 80s, where you get like a sports cup and you have a coin or something on the bottom. 7-Eleven seems to be, I don't think they do it as much. I could be wrong. That might be a question for Jason Liebig. But when they do, 7-Eleven goes all out. And here's why I'll point this out. In 2019, I'm sorry, they did a 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters in Canada. And at the time, I lived in Rochester. And I also had an enhanced license. So I could just drive over and come back as I please. And for the 35th anniversary, 7-Eleven offered these fantastic little cups. And you can kind of see that. And where is he? And they actually had a lot of signage in the store. Like they were promoting it pretty big. And they also did, this will drive you up the wall. They did a exclusive Slurpee, a sour green apple, which on normal circumstances I wouldn't, but I just drove 2.5 hours just to get these cups and to try this Slurpee. So it was a hot day, and I got to be honest, it kind of hit the spot. But 7-Eleven, man, they still every once in a while go all out, and I think that people, you'll be able to kind of see this is kind of a little worn and used, and this is gone with me to work. This has gone with me on trips. It'll probably go with me to the firehouse for Ghostbusters Day in June. But 7-Eleven, they still have a habit to surprise us every once in a while. And I do love when modern companies come out with something new. They even if it's a property I don't know, like I'm not a fan of I'm not a video game player. So I don't know too much about Fallout, but if they were to offer like some cool cup with like a Fallout character, I have a 7-Eleven within walking distance. I would be racing over right now. I can promise you that. I'll be like a ghost. I'm sorry, there was one other case where 7-Eleven recently did more in style with the cups that we knew and like we grew up with for Deadpool 2, which I think was 2018. And they kind of did a couple, they dressed up the store with a few things, and they did like sturdy white, thicker plastic, just big old cups, and they were fantastic. And I remember I did a review on my site years ago comparing the thickness, the height, and like how they feel, and they were the same exact thing. So they still they like I said, they can still surprise us every once in a while, and that's always kind of pleasant.
Yeah, you love to see it, and it is weird when you think about it, because it is so simple. It's a picture on a cup, but we connect with it. And I wonder, what is it, because like we're using it to ingest like something that actually like activates like flavor centers of our brain? Like, why are we also connected just to the cup concept?
I think that there is some truth to that. I think that that's a good way of putting it. I think it's the art. It's kind of feeling festive about, maybe, for example, I just went. I went to the WrestleMania store and I actually got a souvenir cup, in my kitchen actually. But I was using that while watching WrestleMania. It kind of gets you in the spirit. It kind of, best word is a souvenir. I was here to see this. I was here to experience it somehow, and sends me back to that moment. And I think the big thing is probably the art or the subject, whatever it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big enough canvas that you can actually do something with a cup, and you get that 360, look to the art, like makes it extra special. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always kind of fun to see how creative they can get. And I'm going to kind of show off the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire cup. Let's see if I can do this. No, it doesn't work. I still have a light on over there. But this glows in the dark, and I got to see it with our Frozen Empire with our friend Jay. And I had commented, it kind of looks like a bowling alley carpet, and it glows in the dark. So it's like the ultimate gimmick, and it's Ghostbusters. So there's just something so cool about that. And why drink out of a glass when I can have this? It's fantastic. It's just it's a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. So
now I have a question for you. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I know in the past I've seen you kind of do videos where you and your family are kind of getting in the spirit, like whether it's your birthday and you have a lot of throwback items. Are there nights where you kind of will, you guys will get in a festive spirit and kind of use old cups or old glasses, or how do you use them? Or are they just for display? Because I'm kind of curious where you're coming from.
I mean, so definitely, my friends know that for my 40th birthday, I did a big Batman Returns, like it was like a Zoom party and everybody could come along. And so I recreated, the McDonald's Batman Returns meal. So I definitely was filling up my cup for that type of thing, just put, get it all to the top with some Coke and we're ready to roll, but I guess I don't usually drink Coke. That was my festive moment. My wife is the Coke fan here, but yeah. So generally, I keep them for display because like I guess there's not enough to go around, with the exception of the
Okay.
Batman Returns. I just have like one or two, or like I will say though, like these Batman Returns cups, I had two of them at my dad's house along with the Flintstones one for like since the 90s. Like he had
Yeah.
kept them
Yeah.
at his house. And so I know they were being used every time I visited. I'm sure he used them every once in a while just for fun. But yeah, so it's not something like where I accept on those special occasions, and then like I say, every time I need a drink, I literally am grabbing the Slurpee cups. So those are always in use. But the vintage ones, not
Yeah.
quite as much. I wish though. I gotta make more opportunities for myself.
I I think it and to what you said, for me it's a little bit different. I live on my own. And like I was saying with WrestleMania, if I'm in the mood, um and Fright Rags, the great company Fright Rags, they're actually doing souvenir cups, and I know they just did Elvira, Joe Bob. If I'm in the mood to watch, Joe Bob live when it's happening, or Elvira, I'm gonna grab one of those cups. It's like we were talking about earlier, you know. So I can definitely see, yeah, I can definitely see it being a special occasion more with you, you know.
Yeah,
For
not
me,
like
I
it's
think,
just because my
yeah.
my kids will definitely want to drink out of them, but do I trust my 5-year-old, with Two Face here? It's like,
No, not yet, not yet. They will one day.
all in good time. See if they'll join in the fun. Let's talk a little bit about the other evolution of the cups that I found fascinating. And for a time, and I know Star Wars was big with this, but was the character toppers. Like you mentioned, like there was like a Darth Vader helmet, but there were like literal like characters like on top of cups. I think when episode one was coming out, or what one of them,
Yeah,
like
episode one, and I think those were KFC or Taco Bell exclusives.
yeah, like a
And
Taco Bell did the Godzilla 98, like where he was like
yeah,
wrapped around the cup,
oh
like
god, what a piece of art that was. I know people probably expected me to say another kind of descriptive term, but those were just magnificent. Like, also, side note, I don't think people remember the push for that Godzilla movie. Oh my gosh! Again, another episode, but yeah, the I think that was more. You know what it kind of reminded me of? I feel like more theme parks would kind of do that, like a Disney or Universal. And it's funny because I remember going to a thrift store back in 2014 or 15, and I found a Universal Monsters water bottle, like a soda cup from Universal, and it was a figural cup of the Bride of Frankenstein. I sold it. I wish I still had it, but it was just magnificent. So I think like that kind of had an influence on a lot of these things. Um, the episode one marketing was just as insane as, I don't think, if you weren't around for it, there's really no way we can truly describe it. But yeah, there were a lot of character toppers, and now we're actually kind of seeing that with modern day, because a lot of theaters will kind of offer like just a regular top, and you can like take a little figure, kind of pop it back in. As you can see, I'm doing it with little mini Stay Puft for Afterlife. So they still kind of do it, but it's not as grandiose, as detailed as it once was. But that is such a fun aspect of it, because trying to collect the cups sometime in the best shape is the challenge, but trying to find it with like a perfect condition topper, or in the for Pizza Hut, I remember when they did the X-Men promotion, they offered the cups, and the tops were red with the X. So you had like their patch or their logo. And when they did Universal Monsters, they also did like toppers with like embossed 3D faces on the lids. So it's that's kind of a fun little addition to it. And if we want to go back even further, here we go. We were just talking about Batman Returns. one of the big gimmicks to go with the cup were they called them bat frisbees, didn't they? Was that what they were called? And
Yeah, I think
yeah, which
something like that. I don't think they were able to use frisbee, probably, but what does it say
no,
here?
bat
It
discs.
does. Frisbee bat disc. Wow, they got it
Okay,
officially
yep.
licensed by Frisbee. That's crazy.
Can I be honest? I never really noticed that.
Me neither.
Wow, wow. I never ever noticed that. Oh, I'm learning something now. Jeez,
Glad you were curious. Yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of an early, because it's just like the bat logo. It says Batman Returns here, McDonald's. Mine's a little dirty. Could probably use a quick wash, but those are always kind of fun. Here's another question for you: when you're collecting cups, and they do have designated like toppers or lids or whatever, will you go after like the complete thing, or are you just like, it kind of depends?
I guess it depends on how rare it is. Cause like to me, like sometimes like the cup art is enough, but like we were talking about with the Rocketeer,
Yeah.
kind of like it really doesn't have the same feeling when it's just,
No.
like it's close but no cigar. You got to have all of that. But like some of them, if I like the property enough, and especially if it's just one, I would just like it to have literally to drink out of, then
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Then I'm just like, okay, it's not complete, but it gets the point across, and gives me the nostalgia hit while I'm drinking, so.
If it's in yeah, like, and if it's like the Rocketeer, or if I were to go after that Godzilla, or even the figural Star Wars Episode 1, like that would be one thing. If I was to just go after um just a regular one of the let's say the X-Men ones, and they didn't have like the red like lid, I'd be okay with that, because the art honestly is really what takes it home.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about cups that we're aware of or we had at one time and we want to get back. Like, what are some that are coming to mind for you? We're like, that's a cool series, or but it goes for a lot these days, or you're just like just haven't come across it yet. It's one of those I want to find in the wild.
So a lot of those are from Burger King.
Hmm.
And they did a couple promotions here and there where they kind of use cups as like the promo item, or like the kids meal or something like that.
Yeah.
We did Simpsons, Thundercats, and the one that kind of got away is the Masters of the Universe. And the Masters of the Universe, I think, were a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And
But they had a comic that went around the edge of it. Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of like a Bazooka Joe, where it was only like, like 4 frames or whatever. But they were done in a style that, I'm sorry, not Bazooka Joe, more like a Sunday comics kind of funnies kind of deal. But I mean, it told a quick story, and it kind of had some cool art. And at the time, Burger King was also with Pepsi, so obviously being a Pepsi guy. But they did 4. They did one with Moss Man. They did one with Too Bad. They did one with the Horde, which is the one that just drives me crazy. And I can't remember the other one. It may have just been like Skeletor messing with Orko, I think. But that was always a fun promotion. As far as any others that got away, that or like that I've seen and I've probably missed out, or it's not a grail. I don't think we're talking about grails, but Hardy's is going to come up again in a little while, but Hardy's did in 92, was it, for Home Alone 2? They did a Home Alone 2 promotion.
Oh.
And they actually did like cups to go along with like a poster they gave away as well. So I think I participated in that. I think I had the poster. If we had the cup, I don't think it lasted long. But that would be just like, because I love Home Alone, I would love to have one of those. That's on my radar. If I see it in the thrift store, that's not exactly like a need. But if it's in a thrift store, I will be pushing people out of the way for it for sure.
Well, that's the thing. See, like it's some of it is regional, right? Like I didn't grow up in your area. I'm on the other side of the country. We didn't have Hardee's where I grew
Right.
up. So I heard about it, and like sometimes like I would find like at garage sales and stuff, people would have Hardee's based like kids meal toys because they had traveled on a trip, and then here they
Yeah.
had. I'd be like, "What is this Hardee's?" And then like years later, finding people reminiscing, like there was no Ghostbusters 2 fast food tie-in when I was growing up, and here Hardee's has this whole. They got ice cream sundaes, they got the cup, they got all the noisemaker. I'm like, what? Why did
You're
they?
making me sad. You're making me cry that you didn't get to experience that. That said, I'm sure this is not about how much can I talk about Ghostbusters 2 and Hardee's, but maybe we'll figure that out a little down the road this summer. That's just a little tease.
Okay.
But that is something I kind of wanted to discuss, is because yes, there were companies that didn't make it out to Montana, right?
Well, I grew up in California. I'm in Montana
Okay.
now, and we do have Hardee's. They had it, but I never went.
So did you guys had Carl's Jr., right?
Exactly, but it
But
was
they did.
before they merged.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So like a Roy Rogers, you would have never seen unless like you came to like New York City.
Yeah, like so I had family in New Jersey, and when I would
Yeah.
travel with them, Roy Rogers and
Yeah.
Friendlies, other places I'd never heard of.
You guys didn't have Friendlies out in California.
Nope, we had in, they're mentioned in Goonies actually, but we had Swenson's. That was our ice cream parlor that we had on
Oh,
the
wow.
East Coast. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wonder if there's any cups out there of Swenson's.
I
Maybe there's a
never
Goonies
saw any
cup out
promotion.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, it's now it's funny you say that. A friend and I have a friend up in Canada. I think a lot of people know him. He's at Cheers Ian on X and everywhere. He is a lifelong Canadian, and there was a place called Wimpy's, and they apparently did a Ghostbusters 2 promotion at the same time as Hardee's, and I think also McDonald's up in Canada did one too at the time. And there's not a lot out there about that, but it's amazing sometimes you don't know everything that's out there. Like you don't like. Some people didn't grow up with White Castle. Some people didn't. I'm sure that there are people that I don't know didn't even have Wendy's or I don't know, but like I learned a long time ago the same nostalgia I share is not going to be the same nostalgia everybody shares. So it is always kind of fascinating when I hear, oh yeah, I didn't grow up with a Hardee's. Now I'm a little bit more, oh okay, I get it, but ooh, yeah,
I know.
there's
For someone who I saw that movie in theaters, I love Ghostbusters 2 so much. I was just remembering though, one more McDonald's set that was very much like these, the Batman Returns cups was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
yes,
I,
yes,
I had a ton of those as a kid too, because I loved that movie so much. I was like, Mom, take me. I want to get the cup.
So I told you earlier, my father was a big fan of like Hardee's, and we didn't go to McDonald's often. We had the Garfield mugs, but we didn't go to McDonald's until after his passing as much. But so there are a couple promotions McDonald's did that I didn't realize until years later. So like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I wasn't aware of until many, many years later. I didn't even remember Roger Rabbit doing one, and I was obsessed with Roger Rabbit as a kid. But yeah, it's always kind of fun to discover which ones either passed me by, or I wasn't paying attention, or I wasn't there. Because I think we all have that as collectors of anything, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's the international stuff and everything. Yeah,
No.
it'll always drive you crazy to want it all. Now, let's talk a little bit about Grail cups here because I do have one, which
Mhm.
is I have seen it on eBay. I know there's currently auctions going, but you always ask yourself, how much can you really pay for a cup and
Yeah.
justify it? Yes, it's a trophy item, it's going to go on a shelf, but at the same time, you're like, it's also just plastic. But when I went with my dad, like I think this is the first time that I went to that Kmart for the ices, and what ignited my excitement was, because this is probably like 1988. We go in there, there was a Brave Star icy cup. And I loved Brave Star. I had the toys. I watched the cartoon. It was in Mac and Me. In Mac and Me, he had Brave Star toys. I was so excited. And so I remember I had that cup, and that was one of those cups that was underneath in that cupboard, underneath the microwave for years. And I remember when I got to high school, I was like, Mom, where's my Brave Star cup? Like the
Yeah.
nostalgia was hitting. She's like, I don't know. And I cleared the entire thing out because it was one of those ones that went like back and behind. And I'm like, where did it go? Who threw it away? And so I was so bummed. And I've always just been hoping somewhere, where
Yeah.
Kmart once stood at a thrift store, I'm gonna find the Brave Star cup, and I never do. On eBay right now, there's an auction for $130 or $40, which is a better deal. So I consider the $40. I'm waiting. Maybe they'll give me an offer, get it down to 30 or something. But I'm just like, it's beautiful and I love it. And you don't find that every day. So
So you remember how I was telling you, like some things you don't even know. I'm finding out about this right now. A Brave Star icy promotion.
well, and there was a giveaway associated with it too. Like on the cup, it tells you like, hey, you can win this, you can win that. Like, so I don't know. I have to read the cup again because I can't remember if it said like by watching Brave Star and the promotion would happen there, or if it was through the cup. But it does say win this, win, these items on the cup.
Now, I'm going to piggyback off that. Are there like posters or signage out there as well, or is it just
When
the
I
cup?
search for it, I have not found any promo signs or anything like that. But I have to believe there had to be at least one that they would put up
Yeah.
near the concession counter.
Wow. I'm blown away, and this is not going to be my answer as far as Grails, but I remember in 2003 when Daredevil came out, they did like those they're like weird shaped water bottles. They actually did Daredevil ones and X-Men 2 that year. And I don't see those pop up often, but I had I think one of each. Um just because it was so weird that they that Icy and Kmart would do like a Daredevil, like it was kind of like just like a theme park water bottle, but you were filling it with Icy. I'm reeling from that revelation of a Brave Star.
Well, and I
I'm
found it here. Let me read it to you what it says on the
like,
cup here. So it says free Brave Star prizes. Follow the daily adventures of Brave Star on your local TV station and begin collecting exciting Brave Star posters with every Kmart Kids meal. Collect all 4 to build a giant 64-inch panorama of your favorite characters from New Texas. Wow, there are
what?
posters that you need to assemble that exist somewhere. Uh-oh.
Someone somewhere had a giant poster of Tex Hex with an Icy and a Kmart logo. Adam, you and I might start having a little competition on it.
Yeah.
This is I don't know how to respond. Like this is blowing my mind. I if I see that, I obviously, I will be texting you immediately, but wow. This is blowing my mind.
It's pretty nuts. Like I say, that's one of those things where I don't think a lot of people were paying attention or how
Yeah.
many people were going to Kmart to get their ices on a regular basis. So it's one of
Yeah.
those awesome awesome little pieces of nostalgia that maybe we've ignited for people now. And yeah, if there's a little competition, so be it. Maybe
Yeah.
your pockets are deeper than mine, but
I can promise you no. But my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna follow that up with, my big number one. I'm
well, yeah,
sorry. I'm blown. You completely just threw me off, and you know me. I'm never speechless on a podcast, but wow. I wish Jason was here to see this so he could just see me speechless for once. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I can follow that up, but wow. Okay. So I think you have me beat, to be honest, because I think that's going to be much more fun little find. My grill I actually lost last night while I was recording the Advent Calendar House with Mike Westfall. It was a WrestleMania 8 event cup. So essentially, what it is, if people don't remember, WrestleMania 8 was they promoted it as the double main event. So it was Sid and Hogan and Flair and Randy Savage. And the cup was literally on one side was, Hogan and Sid Justice, and on the back was Flair and Randy. It was literally no different than the poster, the shirt, the program. And the problem is it doesn't pop up off. Like a lot of those cups, and I know like 7-Eleven did some like WCW cups in the early 90s for the Great American Bash along the East Coast, I think. And they also did some 80s wrestling way early, but these cups are not hard. They are not easy to come by. And as we kind of continue going on, the early WrestleMania memorabilia tends to go up, and other than like hats and shirts and posters, if you have any other WrestleMania ephemera, it's going to be harder to come by. So maybe one pops up every few years. And I had it. I lost the bidding war. I put in 20, someone went 25. And by the time I tried to confirm a higher bid, I was defeated. And you're just like, how long am I going to have to wait for another one? Because it's my favorite WrestleMania. And to my knowledge, I haven't seen any other early examples of like WrestleMania specific cups. So I don't think they did one for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But so 8 was kind of an anomaly, So that's a dream of finding a thrift store or a flea market or whatever the case may be. But unless
if it's not too painful, can I ask, how did it break? Like, what exactly happened to it?
What do you mean break?
Well, you said you lost it, like while you were recording. What is
I lost the bid.
Oh,
I lost out on the auction. I'm sorry.
I thought you had
so
one and it got destroyed. I was like, oh no. Okay.
Oh gosh, I don't know how. I wish. It's funny. My friend who got me into collecting like vintage and fan made, as we'll call them, wrestling throwback stuff. He has the greatest collection of like vintage wrestling memorabilia, and he actually bought an original WrestleMania 8 hat and shirt from someone who had attended. And when he won that auction, they messaged him and said, "Hey, we found a WrestleMania 8 cup. Would you like it?" And he was like, "Yep, send it over." So he messages me that, and I swear I almost went through the roof. I was like, "How do I not have that?" But that's my holy grail right now, other than the Hordak Masters of the Universe Burger King cup. And it was right in my fingers, and I had to hit mute on my microphone last night while Mike Westfall was talking about the movie that we were talking about. So it was I lost sleep last night because of it, and rightfully so. I think
it could have been mine. Yeah,
it could have been, and I have such love that, like I said, that's my favorite WrestleMania of all time, and I oh gosh, so if anyone's watching, if you find a Brave Star Icy Cup, call Adam. If you have a WrestleMania 8 cup, call me.
absolutely. Well, Chad, this has been so much fun. Like, just this whole world, I'm sure it's stirred up a lot of memories for everybody who's watching as well. So I can't wait to see the comments and hear, people's stories themselves. And I'm sure people are, when we post this on social media, they'll share their collections. They probably got their, the top of their cabinets lined just like you did. So
yeah, I did. And it's funny because we were talking, I think was it yesterday or the day before? It was pretty pretty quick that we made this happen. But I was actually watching. I went back and watched the Lunchbox episode with Sean again, and I was like, I've written blog entries about it, but I don't really think I've ever sat down and talked about it. I'm sure there's other cup collectors out there. So I was just like, I wonder if Adam wants to talk about this, because I started thinking, I'm like, maybe I could pitch like My Pet Monster. No, I've done that a million times. Sean already did lunchboxes. Nobody wants to hear me talk about stickers or, whatever else I have lying around. And after watching, I was kind of cleaning my my shelf, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, there we go. Because I did a little tease earlier. How long can I talk about Ghostbusters 2, Hardy's 2, or Hardy's promotion? That's just a little tease for something I'm planning this summer, and you just kind of wanted to show that off, because I don't know about you, but that is probably my favorite collector cup I have.
That's your version of the Rocketeer. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, Chad, again, thank you so much for suggesting it. That's the name of the game here on Geek Out. These things, like, I've never really gone in depth. Well, come on over here. We're ready to have the conversation. We're ready to learn something we'll share along with you. So, but if people want to be in touch with you, if they want to find you this summer, when there's a little bit of Ghostbusted action coming their way, possibly, where can they get in touch with you?
It'd be a very slimy summer. Let's just say that. Well, first off, you and I do this so often, but I got to tell you, this was really exciting and really different. So thank you for letting me come on. And I am really excited to hear and see the next episodes that are planned, because if I'm having this much fun, I can only imagine what everyone else has in store. We all have our weird, not weird, but maybe things we don't get to talk about often. You can catch me at horrormoviebarbecue.com, which, like I said, come June, let's talk. And at horrormoviebarbecue.com, and you can also catch me on every social media platform at horrormoviebarbecue, facebook.com/horrormoviebarbecue too.
There
Not Horror Movie Barbecue 2, but whatever. You guys are smart. You guys can figure this out.
That is for sure. Of course, we also want to invite you, if you're enjoying all these videos that we have here, these Geek Out interviews, you can also find the audio version it's actually at geekoutpodcast.com. So you can check out that as well. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app, but also go on over to the retronetwork.com, which is the home of Geekster, who are the hosts for the Geek Out podcast, as you can imagine. And if you are interested in participating, if this is something that you would like to join in and create and lead a discussion, then just go ahead and reach out to me and let me know. I'm at Hoju Coolander on all the socials. You can find me there, but you can also submit messages, at the retronetwork.com as well. We'd love to hear from you. But hey, until next time, we'll check you later.
Cheers.
This has been a presentation of Geekster Media.